Right, so this is actually quite a unique build. This again is another adaptation taken from the one and only Rise of Brutality. He does a very, well, it's very similar, but its core mechanic is different. Mine is based around crit chance and crit damage just because I am horrendopig, like absolutely terrible at headshots. Rise of Brutality is based around crit chance for perfect boomerang and headshot damage, so his inevitably will do more. He basically one-shots everything with his version of this build. Mine, however, although I do try and go for headshots, my aim is just that terrible, and this has actually really helped me out. So this build is kind of twofold. One, you are really squishy, which I'll get onto in a bit. So I've had to relearn positioning. I've also had to really slow down my gameplay because other than the honey badger, which I have on me as my secondary, the Virginian or the 1886 really is quite slow. You have to reload bullets individually. It's quite a slow, methodical weapon. Although it hits really hard, it's just slow. I'm also using the Regulus, which is a 6-shot revolver. Again, this is slow. All these weapons hit really hard, but are slow. So you're squishy, you're deadly accurate, you hit like a truck, so you've really got to be all over your aim and positioning, which this build has really helped me do. However, once you sort of get into the swing of it, honestly, this has become like my number one general build. Like, running around DC, New York, casually farming missions solo, or even with like groups that kind of know what I'm doing. This has like become my number one build, and I'm genuinely really enjoying it. You kind of have to pay attention to your surroundings. You might notice that during this gameplay there's a few times where I don't actually shoot, I just sort of sit and wait and look around. I've also been trying to practice my snapshots, which is literally where you just pop up for that split second, fire a shot, and then get back down immediately. Trying to actually wait for a good example of this now, rather than sticking around. If you can stick around, it's more of a, there's a lot going on, I need to just do a quick snap kind of deal. But in rare occasions to initiate a fight, you can use Regulus, as you just saw there. So overall, I'm absolutely loving this build. That was a little bit of a snapshot there, and then we're going to go into actually actively targeting. So it's really helped with my aim, my positioning, my snapshots, and just it's kind of reinvented the game a little bit for me. I mean, I'm aware I'm the highest level player, 1940. I'm creeping up quite quickly due to some pro tips from Rise of Brutality and a lot of his friends as well. You've got Comrade Bo, he's also a streamer, check him out. But they've offered me so many helpful tips to sort of revitalise the game. There's actually an LMG build they've shown me, which I'm desperate to show people at one point, but I'll be directly copying because there's no sort of like customizations in which I can use for this, so it would be a straight up copy. But yeah, try this build out, it's actually quite fun. You don't have to use the Virginian, although I would really suggest getting or trying to get the Virginian, simply because perfect boomerang comes with 75% chance for the next shot or for a crit to be returned to the magazine, and the next shot does plus 50% damage. The actual overall damage output of this is actually pretty hefty. You do roughly between 5 and 7 million a shot, with headshot and perfect boomerang taken into account. The actual DPS is really nice, however. It does feel slow, but the overall DPS is quite high due to how hard you can hit. However, the real love of it is, let's put this on very hard, as you can see, and we're just going to swap to Regulus and just delete all of them. Like, it even one-shots name deletes. It's quite hilarious. With snapshots as well, which you can sort of see me practicing here, it is really accurate. So this actually really does help your survivability. And as you can see, without a fully charged Dodge City holster. Yet again, another build with Dodge. What is going on with Dodge City holster? It's absolutely stupid. Just that quick delete button. It's bloody brilliant. It's kind of become one of my go-to exotics in most builds. It's phenomenal. Anyway, let's actually have a look at this build. Now, I want to point out this build will probably get a lot more use from sharpshooter. However, I am using gunner because I am squishy, and that 10% armor regen on kill is actually really nice. Now, as you can see, I am using the Virginian, a honey badger, and a Regulus. And again, Virginian is not maxed out. How dare I show you that? But the real trick to this is perfect boomerang, which I've already explained, and then honey badger with killer. This is not the greatest honey badger roll. I do need a new one, but what can you do? I am using Providence 3-piece Providence defense, using the mask with crit chance, crit damage, and again another crit damage mod. If you're really wanting to go for the absolute OP headshot build, use punch drunk and chain killer rather than 3-piece Prov Death, and I'm using Sacrifice and the Gift. As you can see here, I'm using crit chance, crit damage. With chain killer, you want to go for headshot, weapon handling. Holster is again a bit more weapon handling and headshot, just because a little bit of headshot really does help out with the damage of the Regulus, and that's what allows us to basically one-shot groups of enemies. As you can see here, the Gift, weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage. Again, if you wanted to go for the headshot variant, just no crit damage. Don't worry about crit damage. It's all crit chance. Once you hit about 50% is like the sort of cut you want to get. And from there, it's headshot damage and weapon handling where you can, just to ensure you can get those headshots. Using the Grupo gloves, which do, with the amount with this setup at least, does override the damage to armor because of the amount of crit damage that we're doing. So it actually works better. I've looked into it. Don't ask. And then Fox's Prayer, because one, we're using rifle, two, damage to targets out of cover is absolutely stupid, which is why we also run it on our weapons, apart from the honey badger, because I'm a moron and I was playing around with that before I knew what I was talking about, and optimizations as well. For the pistol, obviously Regulus. Mine's maxed out now. Check me out. Ooh, probably the single hardest hitting pistol in the game. If you're wanting a bit more crit, run something like Orbit or a D50 with Finisher. But in the meantime, have fun, good luck, and don't die. It's bad for the health.